one thing, I would love your opinion, that I struggle with is how to instill good body image. Because I have struggled with my weight my entire adult life. As a teenager, I looked great, but I thought I didn't. And so obviously my body image was off and always has been. And I don't want them to feel that. And they're, starting in that stage of life where they go pudgy tummies, or, like how do you keep them making healthy choices? I know both of our homes, like, we both like clean foods and making good choices and not eating, 16 candy bars a day. How do you instill that while going through puberty, knowing they're like high emotion, their hormones are out of control? Also, our children don't actually sit still, so they need calories, like they need fuel. So how do you handle that whole body image, mental health aspect of it?
Oh man. I think for us, what do I do?
Has it been an issue? Like, have you had to?
Oh yes. I think educating them a lot on food makes a big difference.
You also talk about their body types.
Oh, we talk about body types as well, because the truth is not all of us are built the exact same way.
It's like your boys are built very differently. How did you, I'm very curious, how did you address that? Like,
we talk about metabolism, and one person has a very high metabolism, the other one doesn't. And the truth is, for the rest of your life, you're probably not going to look like your brother, as well as either way around. Like, it's not going to happen. I don't know. I feel like we all have.
So basically, you're just real direct.
I'm direct with it.
Direct and honest.
But even like the mental health aspect of it, I think they're a good therapist. A good therapist. I think, like, even as adults, we need therapy, and I think the same happens with kids.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we have had like moments where our oldest is like in a mood and something's wrong, and like we've had big transition over the last few years, so I can understand why he has these big feelings. But there'll be moments where he's like, "Oh, I don't think I can talk to you right now about it." And we're like, "That's fine. You don't have to right now, but you have to talk to one of us or a trusted adult." So, and they know the list of trusted adults. If you feel you can't talk to any of us, then we'll go ahead, we'll start therapy, and it's not a punishment. We just want you to feel like you have somebody always to talk to that we can all trust.
Yeah.
And I think therapy is great. I know I would love to do therapy. We did marriage therapy a few years ago. My husband has done therapy, and it's worked wonders for him. I think therapy is great. How do you think, like, introducing it to the kids would go?
We have introduced it to the kids, and I think one is really okay with it, loves it. The other one, not really a talker, doesn't really want to talk about it too. So I think some of them, need longer than others. It might be just a season for one, and it might be a lifetime for the other.
Or something you do, they stop and they come back,
Yeah, and there's so many different types of therapy that they're going to need different things at different times.
Yeah.
And different therapists, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
the big one. You got to shop.
We had one that, I don't know, he was more like me and like a lecturer. So that's obviously going to be almost like a turn off, right?
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Like,
it was more like a Bible study.
Right. So, I mean, they're all Christian therapists, but like finding one that actually connects with the kid is like super important, right? So yeah, that was huge, I think. But it's actually been one of the best things we've ever done.
I think one of our therapists is more like a mentor to my child than an actual therapist.
They want us to get baptized afterwards. They're reading their Bibles.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I think our generation's like pretty open to the idea of like therapy now for ourselves and our kids. But like when we were growing up, that wasn't something that kids did unless there was like something wrong or they went through some kind of trauma. We certainly didn't go as kids. Like, do you agree that like now it's a little bit more commonplace and people are a little bit more, accepting and like, yeah, this is a good idea. Like, obviously we all went through stuff. Kids, I always feel like if you can get them in therapy now, like you can avoid a lot of the heartache that
it makes them very emotionally aware, as well as just emotionally like wise about their feelings and others.
Yeah, they get to communicate it regularly. It's super, super helpful. And like you were saying, like sometimes you start out, you stop. We've gone from like regular down to like once a month, and like it just kind of fluctuates depending on what they need.
Right? I think that's also the beauty of the flexibility of homeschooling. Like you have more time in your day. I just recently read the book Raising Emotionally Strong Boys, and I have not finished it, but it was such a good book. And I think as a mom who obviously doesn't have the same feelings as boys, it was so insightful for me to like see a lot about like their anger and energy and like how to help them, like if you're, I think it's Jorenda Wilson, she talks about how like a kid can run hot. Like I have one kid that runs hot. Like he's just way more quick to fly off the handles, and he's not bad. He's not mean. He runs hot. And how we can help them, navigate those feelings. And one of my favorite things, and I think it kind of ties into what Nathan was saying about just always pursuing that conversation with them, is that we put so much practice into like sports, and our kids go to football practice and basketball practice, and they have to practice their writing and their reading, but we don't make them practice their emotional strengths. And so when a kid's like, I'm fine, no, you're not. So how do we get a kid, like that's just laziness, you're not fine. So how we can get them to be able to talk about their feelings? I think pursuing that conversation and just like being willing to talk to them all the time and ask them all the questions, even when I like, I don't want to talk to you. And then sometimes knowing too when to be quiet and when to be like, all right. I think from that book I also learned the tug of war. It's like when you're going back and forth with your kid and they're going and coming at you and you're arguing with them now, is you can only play tug of war if two people are playing. Like let your rope go. Just let it go. And then they can come back and have a conversation with you and everyone's calmed down. Those are like, I think, two things that has helped us through the whole like puberty roller coaster. And we're only at 10. Like we've got years. Once that you have 10 and 11, we've got years.